From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Monday, February 17th. Here are today's headlines.
And we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense.
U.S. Vice President JD Vance took center stage at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend with comments on mass migration in Europe. Mr. Vance had been expected to directly address Russia's war in Ukraine.
Really, the big talking point of the last few days has been the speech that was given by the new U.S. Vice President JD Vance on Friday.
The National's head of multimedia, Greg Tanner, attended the conference. He reports.
Given what this event is, most people had anticipated him speaking about Russia-Ukraine, NATO funding, but he actually used it as an opportunity to launch a broadside attack on Europe, saying that Russia and China weren't the big threats, but he was worried about what he called the threat from within.
The retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America.
He told European leaders that they face no more urgent challenge than mass migration. He accused governments of failing to listen to their people, and he accused multiple countries of suppressing free speech.
Leaders from the Middle East also had the spotlight at the summit, bringing focus to tensions in the region, particularly around the Israel-Gaza war. This is Greg again.
In terms of the Middle East, President Trump's proposals for the Gaza Strip have been under fire. We spoke to Egyptian MP Sahar al-Bazar, who said that we should not entertain unrealistic proposals for Gaza.
That distracts our focus and our energy in bringing realistic solution and more sustainable solution for peace in the Middle East.
The National's editor-in-chief, Mina Al-Arabi, also spoke about this issue with Felipe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General for UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East.
There is a risk that there wouldn't be Palestine. There is a risk of annexation of the West Bank. There is a risk that the West Bank become what we keep hearing, Judée Samaria, part of a greater Israel.
And then finally, Syria. The nation's new foreign minister, Assad al-Shibani, offered reassurances that the new leadership will offer an inclusive future to the country's people. He said that the HTS-led revolution against Bashar al-Assad's regime had turned the corner on dictatorship and would put in place a system that reflects the interests of the people, that is Syrian-led and Syria-owned.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Israel over the weekend. It's his first visit to the Middle East as tensions flare over President Donald Trump's stated plans to take over Gaza. Rubio spoke alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem late Sunday afternoon.
The president's also been very bold about his view of what the future for Gaza should be. Not the same tired ideas of the past, but something that's bold and something that frankly took courage and vision in order to outline.
He directly addressed Trump's Gaza plan as well as developments in Syria. The State Department had said in a statement prior to the visit, quote, "The trip will center on freeing American and all other hostages from Hamas captivity, advancing to phase 2 of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza, and countering the destabilizing activities of the Iranian regime and its proxies," unquote. Even as Washington is still assembling its Middle East team, the former senator from Florida is considered one of the most well-versed in international affairs in Trump's cabinet. The trip comes as Mr. Trump attempts to build regional support for the U.S. takeover of the Gaza Strip and permanently displace more than 2 million Palestinians in the territory to neighboring countries. Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages on Saturday, marking the end of a tumultuous week during which the ceasefire deal threatened to collapse. The 3 were released in exchange for 369 Palestinian detainees and prisoners, the vast majority of whom are Gazans captured by Israeli forces after October 7th. 36 were serving life sentences for murder and terror-related crimes. The durability of the ceasefire deal came into question last week as Hamas said it would delay or withhold the release of hostages, citing what it said were Israel's violations of the ceasefire agreement. Those fears were compounded by Trump's apparent ultimatum that would see all hostages released by this past Saturday, or, quote, all hell for Gaza. His comments were made outside of the scope of the agreement, and he said he left the decision up to Israel. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow live updates at our site. Yasmin Altaji, The National.